Hi everyone, now we've looked in detail before at how we generate maximum backspin. I think I've done a couple of videos about that. And I've also looked at the stun shot in detail and what's actually happening to the cue ball and how we get the perfect stun effect on the white. But we haven't looked at how we generate absolute maximum topspin. So it's often a common problem I'll see that players can generate some topspin, but sometimes it's not absolutely pure topspin. They're getting a little bit of a stun effect. So on a shot like this, I'm trying to get the white to really zip, go into that pack of reds there, lots of nice topspin, go into the reds, freeing up a couple of reds there. But how do I generate that absolute pure topspin without risking any stun effect? Okay, so I've got this shot set up here so that I've got a pot on this red to the middle here. I've made a mark on the table so I can put the white back in exactly the same place each time. Obviously that red is going on the blue spot. And the yellow here is marking the natural path that the white ball will take if I play with topspin. So if I hit right at the top of the white and get a pure topspin shot, my white should come off that red and hit the yellow. So let's just confirm that. Obviously, an important thing to be aware of here is that I must pot the red in the centre of the pocket. If I pot it to the right of the pocket or the left of the pocket, that's actually changing the angle on this shot. It's creating more or less angle, which will change where the white goes. So I've got to try and go behind this shot, make sure I pop this ball, centre pocket, not too hard, just find the natural path. So it's gone in the centre of the pocket, and we can see the white going down and hitting the yellow. So we know that if we get a pure topspin shot, that's the natural path of the white. Let's explore some of the reasons why people don't manage to get maximum topspin. Now, first of all, we know that when we play these topspin shots, we know that we need to hit right at the top of the white ball. Now, obviously, there comes a point where you can hit too high and the tip will actually skid over the top of the white and we'll get a miscue. We won't make a good contact. Now, you have to remember that when you're playing with that topspin, it's actually only the bottom part of your tip that is going to make contact with the white ball. So that's why we put a bit of a dome on the tip. That gives us a bit of extra grip and control. But obviously, yeah, we can't go too high because we'd skid over the top of the white. So how do we do that then? So players, first of all, you need to raise your bridge hand. So we raise and lower the knuckles. I've talked about this before. So depending on what spin we put in, obviously we'd lower it if we're using backspin. Here we're playing topspin, so I'm going to raise my knuckles a bit to get to the top of the white. Then I've got to hit the top of the white and play that shot so that I get that lovely pure topspin. Let me hit another one here and see a common problem that might happen for players. So I'm aiming at the top of the white, I've raised my knuckles and then hit the shot. So I played with my topspin, so I was hitting at the top of the white, almost at the same place. Let's look at why that white has just gone much, much wider and not found its natural path towards that yellow. Right, so let's call this problem number one, and that's the angle of your cue when you're playing these topspin shots. So I'd raise my knuckles and I was aiming at the top of the cue ball, but the angle of my cue was like this. It was almost pointing down towards the white. Now, what that causes to happen is that when I'm aiming down like that, even though I am hitting the top of the white, I'm pushing the white into the table and causing it to actually start bouncing. And what that does is it means that after it makes contact with the red, the white is actually bouncing and it's not managing to grip on the table. You've got to think that when you've got that maximum topspin on the shot there, that the white is spinning and it wants to grip on the cloth, and that's what makes it accelerate forward. Now, if I've pushed the white down into the table, I'm wasting some of that energy in the white bouncing around, and it's causing a slight stun effect. So how we stop that is that we try and get the cue as flat as possible. So you always hear this, that you're trying to get the cue parallel to the bed of the table. And that's going to mean that then you're not causing the white to be wasting some of its energy in that bouncing movement. So when I play this shot, I've got to go to the shot, I've got to try and get the back of my cue, as well as my bridge being hired, I've got to try and get the butt end of my cue nice and flat to keep the cue flat to the bed of the table. And then it means I can play that shot and I'll generate that pure topspin shot without wasting the energy in that white bouncing along. Now, problem number two is that you're hitting the shot too hard. Now, just like we looked at the angle of the cue, wasting some of the energy in that white bouncing and it can't grip on the cloth, the same is true if we hit this shot way too hard. So the white obviously is going to hit this red, it comes off at its 90-degree line, so it's going to travel along at 90 degrees, but then the white has got all that topspin on and it's trying to grip on the cloth, and when it can grip, it can then pull it off that 90-degree line and accelerate forwards. Now, of course, if you hit it too hard, it spends much longer on the cloth wheel spinning and wasting that energy with sideways movement. So let's have a look. So if I play one of these, so I've got the cue flat, I'm not making that mistake, but I'm going to hit this much firmer now, so really firm. And we see that time that the white went past the yellow again. So I'd got the cue flat, I was trying to not waste the energy in that bouncing, but what happened that time was that the white was actually wheel spinning for longer. And again, if we look in slow motion, as well as it wheel spinning, it's also bouncing, so it's wasting some of that energy bouncing along the table and it can't grip on the cloth. So very important there that there's a nice point in the middle of too soft and you won't generate enough topspin, too hard and you'll waste some of that energy in wheel spin and the white bouncing around, and then there's an optimum point where you're trying to be nice and smooth and you've got maximum topspin without wasting the energy in wheel spin and the white bouncing around. Problem number 3 is that players don't aim high enough on the white. So it's exactly the same as when you get a player to play a screw shot. They're a little bit worried that if they go right to the bottom of the white, they'll actually get a miscue. Now, the same is true when players are playing at the top of the white. They're worried that if they go right to the top, the tip will skid off the top of the white, and again, they'll get that miscue effect. So that's why they end up just coming a bit lower down, and they're causing just, I always call it, you're getting 10% stun. You're getting a tiny bit of a stun effect on the white. So if I was to hit one of these and I don't get with that pure topspin, so I'm just a little bit lower than pure topspin, and that time, haven't hit it very hard, the cue is nice and flat, but the white has still gone wide of the yellow there. And that's because I just had a tiny, tiny stun effect, which has sent the white that little bit wider. So you can practice, the good thing about the topspin shots, you can practice just going too high on the white, because with topspin, all that's going to happen is the tip will just skid off the top of the white slightly. You're not going to damage the tip or the table. So you can find where he's too high, and then you can just come just a little bit lower from there, and then you know the perfect point to get that perfect topspin shot. So finally, we're ready to play this shot, and we know exactly how to get it right now. So behind the shot, just like I've talked about in previous videos, so this is where you plan your shot. I know I'm playing topspin at just a medium, nice, smooth pace. Now I've got to go into the shot, get my bridge length nice, aim right at the top of the white. So I've raised my bridge up right at the top of the white. I've got the cue flat at the back, so I'm not pushing down onto the white, which is going to cause it to bounce along the table. So I've got to go to that high point, cue's nice and flat. Not going to hit it too hard because that will waste some of the energy in wheel spin. It can't grip on the cloth. And then I've got to use my backswing and smoothly push through the white, and that gets that perfect topspin shot right onto the yellow at its natural angle. So those are all the things that I'm thinking in my mind when getting that topspin shot. Hopefully now that's going to help you so that you can play those topspin shots much more reliably. So, as always everybody, if you did enjoy this video, remember to give it a like. Also share the video, that just helps to get the video out there and help as many players as possible. If you're new to this channel and you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. I'm doing instructional videos, break building videos, things like this all the time. And if you subscribe, that just really helps me to keep all this content coming. I also work with players on this very table doing one-to-one coaching sessions, helping players to improve their game all the time. So if anyone's interested in any personal one-to-one sessions, have a look in the description box below. All my details are there. You can contact me, email, my website, WhatsApp, and I'd love to help you with your game. As always, thanks a lot for watching everybody. I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.